Welcome to the Book Party Podcast. Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T. Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T. Welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of the Book Party Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories, the voices that inspire us. Today we have a remarkable author with us, Annette Nauraine. Annette is not only a wife, a mom, and a lover of all things classical music. She also a talented author behind the captivating book, Do-Over Daughter. But let's get into know Annette a little bit better. She's a true Renaissance soul, passionate about gardening, history, hiking, and the enchanting world of opera. And when she's not immersed in these hobbies, you can find her curled up with a good book or enjoying period movies and TV series. Annette's latest work, Do-Over Daughter, introduces us to the compelling story of Frankie Carter, a woman who can build anything from a house to life, but struggles to rebuild the fractured relationship with her alcoholic mother, Doralee, who vanished from her life when she was just 8 years old. As Doralee reappears after 47 years, Frankie's yearning for her mother's love and admiration becomes an emotional roller coaster. Despite Doralee's consistent heartbreak, Frankie refuses to give up on the love she's always craved. But Frankie's journey is more than just a quest for reconciliation. She's also elbow deep in establishing an LGBTQ+ youth shelter. Determined to make a positive impact, that is until real estate developer Cam Simpson steps in and threatens to demolish her dream and the house filled with painful memories of her childhood. Charming Cam might want a relationship with Frankie, but the house will forever be a barrier. With all her plans collapsing, Frankie is devastated to learn that she'll soon lose Doralee forever. Annette Nauraine's Do-Over Daughter is a powerful narrative of forgiveness, love, and the complexities of mother-daughter relationships. As Frankie's best friends remind her, all mothers, including herself, are imperfect. If Frankie can muster the courage to forgive, she might be able to accept the love her mother can offer before time slips away. So, dear listeners, prepare to embark on an emotional journey with Annette Nauraine as we explore the pages of Do-Over Daughter. Annette, welcome to Inspirations. It's a pleasure to have you here. Stay tuned for a heartfelt conversation that will touch your soul as we delve into the pages of Do-Over Daughter. So, Annette, why don't you take it from here a bit, fill in the blanks, and tell us, the listeners, about yourself.
Well, Michael, that was such a great intro of the book. I think maybe you just rewrote my blurb for me. Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm so excited to talk to your listeners. I'm a mom. This is, as you said, I have two sons. Just sent my last one off to college, so now I'm an empty nester. Do-Over Daughter is the theme of that book and the theme of the Marriage Survivors Club, of which this is the first book of the 6-book series. It's really about inclusiveness and forgiveness and how moms hold themselves to such an impossibly high standard, and how we as children or daughters sometimes hold our parents to impossibly high standards. We build them up in our minds, or there's something that we need, and at a certain point, we have to let go. So that's what Do-Over Daughter is. So what I really wanted to write about moms and the relationships that they have with their kids. And I think I really got to the heart of this. Frankie's disappointment in her mother, and even more disappointment, greater disappointment when her mother actually comes back. And so Frankie has to come to some kind of realization about her expectations, not only of her mother, but of herself. Frankie has two sons, two adopted sons, and so just like me, and she has to find a way to be a mother and a daughter all over again.
After you wrote your book on your publishing journey, there's the 3 routes to go. Of course, there's self-publishing, there's find an agent and do agency publishing, and then there's hybrid publishing, which hybrid publishing, I don't know if you're that familiar with it unless you've used it, lets you pretty much be in control of your book, but then they can get that book out to a lot of different platforms, where self-publishing, pure self-publishing, is usually an upload like to KDP or something like that on Amazon. And of course, you're in control, but again, no matter which way you do it, you have to market the book. And that's really where the money is. You have to do the marketing. So which route did you take, and what decision made you take that route?
Well, I'm a self-published author, and this is my 3rd self-published book. I have 2 others which are out of this genre. This genre is women's fiction with a romantic subplot. And I decided to do it because finding an agent is really a long, long process. And it just doesn't work for everybody. And what I have here in these books, in the Marriage Survivors Club books, of which Do-Over Daughter is the first, there's an element of faith, because these 6 books take place in a church. That's their setting. And so, when you are pitching an agent or pitching an editor, they want to know right where that book is going to get shelved. Is it going to be on romance? Is it going to be next to vampires? Is it going to be next to rom-coms? And my characters are all over 50. So the book has sort of 3 or 4 prongs that don't fit in any particular category. So that was why I chose to do self-publishing, uploading things through Draft to Digital or direct onto Google Play. So that was what really drove my decision for me.
Okay, so yeah, Draft to Digital, I've heard of them. And then, of course, obviously, you hear of KDP. KDP is kind of a trap.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a trap.
It is.
Did you go ahead and get your own ISBN numbers?
I did. I did for some of the platforms. I did not for Google, because they can assign you one, and also a lot of these platforms will assign you one of your own from their stuff. I just, early on in my publishing journey, my writing journey, I had bought some of these ISBNs, and next time around, I probably won't. I have some.
If you let them assign it to you, normally they own the rights to that ISBN number. That's the problem. They don't own your book, but they own the ISBN number. So you're actually better off buying your own ISBN number, and then nobody owns the rights to it but you.
Right.
So, when you want to move it around and do some things with it, you have a little bit more freedom in that regard.
Good point.
I find that more and more authors are getting away from traditional publishing because of the cost involved, the time element involved. It can take 2 or 3 years to get a book on the market through a traditional publisher.
Absolutely.
And then they don't care about your words. They want to change it up to be, what they think will sell, not what you want to write. Because they're going to use their own editors, their own everything. And by the time they get done, it's not your book anymore, and people are really irritated about that.
Right.
Hybrid publishing is a lot better in the fact that they work hand in hand with you with their editors and stuff, so they let you keep a lot of control,
Right.
so you don't lose control with it.
Right.
And so there's a lot of hybrid publishing going on, a lot of self-publishing going on, but that traditional publishing seems to be something going away. So audio, how did you consider doing audiobooks?
Well, if you upload your book to, first of all, hiring audio is really expensive, and I just don't have that kind of money. But audiobooks are becoming a huge segment of the market, really enormous. And I'm just finding that when you upload to Google Play, they have a new auto narration. They have a new auto narration service that you can, once you get that book uploaded, you can automatically put it into their auto narration service, which is fantastic because Google now, I don't know if they're doing any AI learning from it or not. I don't know that, but you can download your auto narrated files, and then you can put those together using another software, and then you can sell those from your own website. You can generally, there's not a lot of audiobook publishers that will accept auto narration, and auto narration has come a long way. It's really, really good. And of course, it lacks the subtleties that you would find using a narrator. And if I had the money, that would be what I would do. But this is a really good middle step for me as an author. So I think doing that is, that's sort of the next thing.
Right. Yeah, I did some research here not too long ago, fairly recent, that audiobooks will outsell print completely, and as well as the ebooks, from reading on the tablets and stuff like that.
Right.
By early 2025, they're going to
Whoa.
completely outsell it.
Wow.
Because of people's lifestyles. They drive, they listen. They do other things. They listen, they walk, they jog, they do their exercises at the gym, they listen.
Right.
Nobody sits on a couch anymore and just reads.
Right.
Or getting the recliner and I'll just sit there and read. And people don't do that anymore. So audiobooks are becoming the next big thing just because of lifestyle. So, that's a huge thing to consider. If you can find the right royalties, you can find the right service, to do it and such like that.
Right.
So that's probably, the way that I'll be doing it.
Yeah.
Is by audiobook.
Well, you have a great voice.
Well, I'll narrate my own.
That's what I mean. You have a great narrator's voice. And having grown up in the Midwest, I have nothing against people who do have accents, but I grew up in Iowa. So my speech doesn't have a lot of diphthongs or an accent. And I was an opera singer, so my diction is really good. And I've played with the idea of narrating my own books, and I might get to that eventually, but that's a whole nother, that's another journey.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to be narrating my own. It saves a lot of money.
No kidding.
Anyway, back to where we were at.
Yeah.
We get kind of carried away sometimes.
Yeah.
So, what I can't do myself is like the formatting and cover design. I have to collaborate on that when I do my books. And I have to use an editor. And I find that me using an editor, I can use either Upwork or Fiverr. You can usually get some editors that are fairly inexpensive that are very good at what they do. So what I did is I created a team completely off of Fiverr for these things. So how
Wow.
do you do your editing?
I have hired some editors. I've looked around and found people, I post on certain Facebook pages that I belong to, and I found a couple editors. But editing there's a lot of different kinds of editing. There's developmental editing, there's coaching, there's proofreading, there's line editing. So for me, I relied heavily on my writing pals and getting feedback from them for what worked and what didn't work. And I have one woman who's in the group who's just great, and I pay her to do a first read, and she does, she finds things that aren't working, or she gives me a short editorial letter. So then for proofreading, I had to poke around, and have found some people that really worked for me. And I think you have to really trust those people. The other thing I use is Grammarly. I run my book through Grammarly, so it'll pick out things where it needs a better phrasing, or it needs take out the comma or whatever. So I use that. What do you do for your book covers? How have you managed that?
Well, that's part of my team too. My entire team's out of Fiverr. So I
Wow.
have a person that does my book covers for me. The first book cover I ever did, I did myself. What a
Yeah.
disaster that was. So I went to Fiverr and I found somebody to do book covers. But what I did is I went to a couple different ones, 2 or 3, till I found the right person that I wanted that did the right job. And
Right.
it takes a little bit of testing to get the person that you want. And
Right.
it takes that on all the different levels of different things that you want. But as soon as you get that, you build that team together and you get book number 2, book number 3, and pretty soon they go so fast and like a snap because you have the right team built.
Right.
And
Right.
that's how I did mine. And so
Yeah.
my book covers are done that way. Same person every time. It just works out really, really well.
Yeah. And then you get consistency across your covers, right? And
Correct.
that I used I found this woman, Ink and Magic Designs, and she's in Melbourne, Australia, which happens to be where my sister lives. And I had her do all 6 of the book covers. And right now there's sort of this cartoony, graphic-y thing for book covers, for women's book covers. And I just don't like those. So she did covers for me. Each one of my characters in the Marriage Survivors Club has a flower. And that flower, for instance, Frankie's flower is lilacs. And that plays an important part between her and her mother. And so that was really great. And so for me, and my book cover designer, we went back and forth and played with different things and different colors and different fonts and so forth. So she's really been great.
Well, that's good. Take us to a point in this book that you would consider your worst author moment.
Ooh, in this book, oh boy, that's hard to say because writing is rewriting. So you can get to a point and you think, oh my gosh, this so doesn't work. I have to rewrite it. So within the context of this book, I think one time one of my proofreaders, sent me some pages back with the proofs, and I saved it to the wrong place and I couldn't find it. It was just painful. It was so painful. So I had to go back, download her edits again, and go back through everything. So that was really, kind of learned my lesson there.
Yeah, that can be painful and a lesson learned.
Yep.
So let's switch this up a bit. What I call an epiphany moment, where you could be doing anything except writing. You can be cooking, you can be driving, you can be waking up from sleeping or going to bed or having a shower, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this big light bulb bursts in your head, or this big aha moment where, man, I got to write this down right now. Something comes into your head for that book, and you got to write it down, because if you don't write it down now and you
Disappear.
wait, it's going to fade away and not be the same. You ever have a moment like that?
Oh man, all the time. All the time. I walk my dog. I hike with my dog, Beasley, and sometimes I'll be walking along and I'll just get this moment and I'll think, oh, that's what should happen. That's how that goes. So, thank God for that cell phone. So I write myself, I email myself a note. I speak it into the computer, in the phone, and I email myself. So that's one way that I really save myself. I have lots of epiphanies in the shower, and that is, then you have to wait until you get out to write it down.
It's pretty common, but most people I talk to don't even wait. They've got it sitting there waiting for them to write.
Yeah.
They just kind of dry their hands off a little bit and they'll sit there and they'll write it. But no, the shower is a pretty common one.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I could make a fortune if I could find a way to write things in the shower and have them not get wet, so that the writer could then take them later.
Actually, they do have underwater writing capability, which is, a pen and paper where you can actually write underwater.
Wow.
They do have that. So somebody's already made the fortune on that one.
That's everything seems to be invented.
So let's go to today. What is the one thing that you are fired up about or most excited about right now, today?
Oh, I'm just so excited to be able to get this book baby out into the world. She's coming on the 15th, and I'm just so excited about it because I can talk to people through my book that I would never get a chance to talk to. And I can sort of say, this is what is important, and this is what is important to me, and I hope it's important to you. And maybe I can touch hearts and change people's minds about certain things. The big theme of the Marriage Survivors Club is inclusion and the value of community and friendships. And so that's something that excites me all the time, being able to share that. And so I think that's really, really kind of where I'm at with that. So that's kind of where I am. I'm just excited to share that book, excited to talk to people about it, excited to share that idea. Right now there's so many things that separate people. And in the Marriage Survivors Club, it's all about being included and finding your people and finding these friends who will stick through everything with you, and people who don't let you get away with, deluding yourself. That's one of the things that the marriage survivors don't do. If somebody's making something up and they're convincing themselves, the other 5 marriage survivors will say, I don't think so. And so that's where I feel like I am today.
Well, that's great. This is Michael T. We invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on top, then scroll down to the icon of your choice, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey, where you can download and follow us there. Please leave a review. And don't forget to sign up for our weekly video newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Now, Annette, we're going to enter into the lightning round. What this lightning round is 4 pointed questions for 4 pointed answers.
Whoa.
Okay. So before you ever became an author, before you wrote a first book of anything, what was holding you back from becoming an author in the first place?
Reading my own writing. For a long time, I just couldn't stand it. I just, and if you don't read your own writing, you're never going to become an author.
Well, I
So
never heard that one before. Normally it's the fear of competition, fear of other authors have written all these great novels and all these great authors. Who's going to read mine and things like that, but being afraid to read your own. I haven't heard that one before,
yeah,
but you got over that obviously because you wrote your book.
yep.
So once you started writing, what was the best advice that you had ever received?
Find your people. Find people that you trust. Find people who will encourage you. People who are not critical, but who will give you the truth, tell you the truth, but help you figure out how to resolve it, how to resolve your
Okay.
problems.
Okay, share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success as a writer.
Writing regularly, every day. Get in front of that computer and write something, or write by hand, or just every day. You got to make it a habit, and you have to make it a priority, because everything else is going to get in the way. If you want to write, you've got to make it a priority.
Okay, could you share with our listeners an internet resource that you use when you write?
I like Grammarly, and I belong to a Facebook page called Wide for the Win. And those are for authors who are publishing wide. They don't publish just on Amazon, they publish through all the other channels. And that has been an incredible resource. I can just pop on there and say, well, what about this? Has anybody heard about this? Or what about that? And in 10, 15 minutes, I can get an answer. So Grammarly, I think, has been really great. It has made me a better writer, made me aware of sentence structure, how I can improve my sentences, cutting out extra verbiage. So those two things have really made a difference for me, I think, as an author.
Okay, I have Grammarly Premium. I can't use it while I'm writing, though, because I have this thing that's called Write Drunk, Edit Sober.
Oh,
So when you write, I don't care about sentence structure, punctuation, grammar, any of that kind of stuff. You just get it out of your head and just write it down.
totally.
Then come back and
Yep,
then worry about those things and let Grammarly help you take care of that,
I
so
agree.
you can make a little bit more sense of it.
All
So
right.
now we are going to enter into the grand finale. So take your time and tell our listeners about your book.
So we've talked about it a little bit. Do-over daughter. Again, the theme is really about forgiveness and inclusion and love, and mothers being able to recognize that they can't do everything, that they have limitations, and that sometimes they got to cut themselves some slack. And also that our expectations of our own mothers, part of growing up is realizing which of those expectations are realistic for your mother, and how to have some kind of a relationship that is fulfilling, but that won't wreck your life. Don't let a toxic person in, and keep that. You can have something, but you don't have to give up everything to have it. So Frankie Carter, she's a single mom, those two adopted boys, and figuring out how she can be a better mom or a different mom. She doesn't have to be better. She just has to give herself a break. And her friends in the Marriage Survivors Club teach Frankie all about, they teach her about herself, right? And I think that's part of what friendship is for. People who you can call up at 2 a.m. and say, I need to go to the hospital, or what about this? And Frankie's friends in the Marriage Survivors Club do that for her and encourage her to be her best person, but not give up who she is just in order to have a relationship with her mom. So Do-Over Daughter has been it's sort of a Valentine too. The Marriage Survivors Club, each woman has been sort of blenderized by marriage. Frankie is single. Somebody else in the Marriage Survivors Club has been married 4 times. Somebody's widowed. So they each have a sort of unifying concept that marriage too isn't everything. And they've all been bumped up by that. But they get to be best friends as a result of what they have in common. And so the series is a 6-book series. And Michael, there's a free book called In the Beginning. And your listeners can download that for free on Amazon. And that gives your listeners an entree into meeting the 6 women for the 6 books. And writing Do-Over Daughter was, as a mother and a daughter, there's always things that you wish you'd done differently. And I think this is, for me, it was a real exploration of what some of those things mean and, accepting that I made some mistakes, but, my kids are in college. They're doing great. So Do-Over Daughter is a little bit like that.
Okay. Well, Annette, we thank you so much for being here with us today and opening up to us, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate this too. Remember, Annette's book, Do-Over Daughter, is available on Amazon. Again, this is Michael T. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on top, scroll down to the icon of your choice, where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey. You can download and follow us there, and please leave a review. Don't forget to sign up for our weekly video newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. So until next time, keep reading, learning, and discovering the world through the pages of a good book. Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing, LLC. This is Michael T. signing off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party Podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.